NFT projects that aren't actually building anything of value probably won't be worth much in the long term, even if they get a lot of attention from time to time. How do you recognize those empty projects to avoid investing in them? In this video, I'll share the ways I do it, along with 3 key ways projects lie about their value, and a bonus tip at the end. Keep watching to learn how I avoid empty projects. Hi everyone, my name is Daniel Tanner, aka Swombat, and in these videos I use my 15 years of experience as a successful entrepreneur working with hundreds of other tech startup founders to bring some clarity to Web3 and NFTs so we can all make better investment decisions. When I first bought NFTs back in September 2021, I bought a whole bunch of garbage. The reason? I was taken in by the promise of the technology of NFTs, and so while I could tell that they were absolute dynamite, I couldn't tell whether their explosive power was being used to build something worthwhile, like a tunnel or a road, or just to make pretty fireworks. NFTs are powerful, and many projects have tried to harness their power as a fundraising tool, as a collaboration tool to align people to work together, or as a marketing tool. I believe most project founders actually have good intentions at heart, but many founders are also young and have no business experience, and there were a lot of very bad patterns set in the space that got copied mindlessly as if they represented something of value, even though they were ultimately hollow. For example, how many projects implemented staking, or tokens, or merge drops, or metaverse skins? In most cases, these developments took effort and money from the project, but had zero impact on any actual long-term value that the project might have been building. But there were enough high-profile projects wasting their time on this that even well-intentioned projects drowned in this kind of useless nonsense for many months, and some still do. The pattern is so bad that many NFT projects only do pointless stuff to get attention and build nothing of value at all. The essence of how to recognize whether a project is building something of value is really simple. Look for the product. What is the product? What is the thing being sold? And by sold, I mean sold to customers. As long as the source of revenue is later investors buying the same NFTs for more, or more NFTs via airdrops or even tokens, those aren't customers. Those are just more investors. A product has customers, not investors. People who buy it because they want the value that it represents. For example, most people don't buy their clothes to flip them to the next person a week later. They buy them to wear them. Most people don't buy their car as an investment opportunity, but to drive it. Most people don't buy food so they can resell it to their neighbors for a 10x profit. They buy to eat. As I've been saying since November 2021, as long as all the money is coming from later investors, there is no product, only a textbook Ponzi scheme. With that out of the way, it's still possible to be misled into thinking there is a product, or that the product is more valuable than it actually is, when there really isn't. Let's go through some common pitfalls. The first way that projects can fool you and themselves into thinking they're delivering value is with this concept of community. You're buying into the community. Let's be clear, as I was in my threads linked in the description. Insofar as there is anything worth calling community in Web3, it is not something you can buy into. Community forms organically. You can't force it to happen with tokens. Now, NFTs can help bring people together and focus them on a common objective. They create alignment. Unfortunately, in most NFT projects, the alignment has been around, how can we pump the project so we can sell the NFTs onto some other investors? That is still ultimately empty and purposeless. So don't be fooled by community as a core value. Community can be a great add-on to amplify the product being built, but it is not the product. Even if the community was strong before the price pump, that is still not enough to be a product, so don't fall for that. Community is a booster, but it still needs to boost something worthwhile to be sustainable long term. What about clubs? They're kind of more subtle subset of community. Now, I'm optimistic about the concept of NFT clubs, but I think so far it's been very poorly implemented. And I say that as someone who is part of and invested in a number of such clubs. Most NFT clubs are too unfocused to be effective. If you're going to back a project that is a club, make sure they are taking vigorous steps to identify their ideal club members. If it's not crystal clear who should be in that club and who shouldn't be, or if the club is for everyone, it's probably not really a club. It's just a trap. If you fall for it, you'll find that NFT projects that only offer an unfocused club or community will seem like they succeed while the price is rising, since narrative follows price and vibes follow narrative, but once the price stops rising, it will start slowly slipping back down to zero and in most cases never recover. Much like community, culture is often waved around as a sort of fig leaf to pretend that a project is doing something meaningful, but it's not worth the digital paper it's not printed on. Culture is also organic and unpredictable. Memes emerge and disappear again. Ideas that captivate society are fluid, constantly shifting. It's almost impossible to deliberately craft something to go viral with any certainty that it will. Humanity is far too fickle. Culture is similar. Perhaps some NFTs that exist today will become cultural artifacts in the distant future, but you can't predict that, and you certainly can't base the value of a project on that. So when told the main value being delivered by the project is culture, run. The third pitch that makes it seem like there's value even though there's not is the pitch of a global brand. The essence of it is, we're going to be the next Bored Ape Yacht Club. It's really seductive because we still, for now anyway, have the example of Basie having risen from nothing to a multi-billion-dollar monstrosity in the space of a year, fresh before our eyes. Forget buying Apple stock in 1998, forget buying Bitcoin in 2010. Everyone now wishes they bought Basie shortly after me, which is all fine and dandy, but Basie is pretty unique, and that's assuming it even can sustainably keep commanding its lofty valuation, which at the moment rides on the other side product, which is pretty risky. We're building a global brand works as a pitch because everyone wishes they bought Basie early. It's basically FOMO, but it's really putting the cart before the horse, don't you think? Brand, and the global luxury brand especially, is something that comes as a result of delivering great, reliable value to users for a long time. Apple, probably the world's biggest brand, didn't start with the brand. They started with a revolutionary computer. Then the brand accreted around their world-leading products. Google built the world's best search engine long before their brand became so well known that it has risked becoming a verb in the English language. Gucci started off manufacturing and importing leather handbags, and then later built that into a brand. As for creative brands, artists also ship products. Picasso, John Lennon, or Kanye West all built global brands for sure, but first they made art. The brand came after the product, and the world-class brand happened because the product itself was world-class. Product comes first. Don't be fooled by brand as a product. This list of misleading products is by far not exhaustive. There's no end to the ways that people can make a product seem to be there where there is none. It is entirely possible to appear to have a real, tangible product there as an excuse, but not really care about it, whilst the real purpose of the project is simply to make money from a barely legal pyramid scheme. So even finding the product is not a guarantee that it's really there. And even if the NFT project is clear and honest about what product they're building, and they seem to have a good chance of actually delivering on their promise, there's still a risk that they will fail for a whole lot of reasons, including just being outcompeted by better products. But what's certain is that if there is no product being built, nothing in active development that will ever realistically be sold to customers to generate revenue, then the project is empty and can't possibly be sustainable in the long run. Which is a shame because, as I explained in this video, NFTs are a very powerful fundraising model, already giving Kickstarter a good run for its money and likely to get better over time. So let's hope they are soon used to build more real products. GM and good luck.